As I hung up the phone, a mix of emotions washed over me. Emily's sudden business trip to Paris had thrown a wrench in our plans, and I couldn't help but feel disappointed. We'd been looking forward to this getaway with Jake and Maya for weeks, a chance to unwind and explore the great outdoors together. I sighed, sinking onto the couch, my mind racing with uncertainty. Should I still go? The thought of venturing to the secluded cabin without Emily felt strange, almost unsettling. She was my anchor, my partner in all things adventurous. The phone buzzed again, Jake's name flashing on the screen. I hesitated for a moment before answering, trying to gather my thoughts. "Hey man, what's up?" I asked, attempting to sound casual. "Walt. You still coming this weekend, right?" "Maya and I are stoked." Jake's enthusiastic voice filled my ear. I paused, the indecision weighing heavily on my chest. "I don't know, Jake. With Emily gone, I'm not sure if I should." "Dude, come on. You can't bail now," Jake insisted. "The trip's non-refundable, and it won't be the same without you. Emily would want you to go and have a good time." I could picture Jake's face, his blue eyes sparkling with excitement, that charming grin plastered across his face. He had a way of persuading people, a magnetic energy that was hard to resist. Sighing, I ran a hand through my hair, my resolve weakening. Jake was right. Emily would want me to go and enjoy myself. She'd never been one to hold me back from new experiences. All right, I conceded, a small smile tugging at my lips. "I'm in. But you better not let me third wheel too hard." Jake's laughter echoed through the phone. "No promises, but we'll do our best to include you in all the couple's activities," he teased. As we said our goodbyes, I couldn't shake the feeling that this trip would be different, a departure from the norm. Little did I know just how transformative it would be, how it would reshape my understanding of love, friendship, and the boundaries that defined them. As we pulled up to the cabin, I couldn't help but gasp at the breathtaking view. Dense forest stretched out in every direction, broken only by the jutting, snow-capped peaks in the distance. The cabin itself was a picture of rustic charm, all weathered wood and cozy corners. "Not too shabby," Jake grinned, slapping me on the back as we unloaded our gear. Inside, the cabin was even more inviting. A small kitchen, stocked with all the essentials, and a spacious main room with 4 beds, each piled high with pillows and warm quilts. Maya had already claimed a spot by the window, her face alight with excitement. "Who's up for a dip in the hot springs?" she called out, already rummaging through her bag for her swimsuit. The hot springs were a welcome respite after the long drive. We soaked until our skin pruned, laughter echoing off the rocks. Back at the cabin, Jake fired up the grill, the smell of sizzling meat mingling with the crisp mountain air. We ate until we were stuffed, then gathered around the fireplace, basking in the warmth in each other's company. As the night wore on, a playful suggestion arose: why not push the beds together? In the end, we decided on separate arrangements, but the idea lingered, a tantalizing what-if hanging in the air. I couldn't help but notice Maya as we settled in for the night. Her nightgown, a whisper of silk, clung to her curves in the soft moonlight. She caught me looking and smiled, a secret sort of smile that set my pulse racing. Tearing my gaze away, I burrowed into my blankets, trying to quiet the swirl of emotions in my chest. As I drifted off to sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that this trip would be more than just an innocent getaway. The faint creaking of the bed and hushed whispers tugged me from sleep. Groggy, I shifted under the blankets, but the sounds didn't stop. Instead, they grew more pronounced, dragging me fully awake. I blinked, the cabin's interior slowly coming into focus under moonlight filtering through the window. My eyes adjusted, and that's when I saw them. Jake and Maya, locked in an embrace. My breath caught and I froze, torn between the urge to turn away and the magnetic pull of the scene unfolding before me. Their movements were fluid, almost like a dance, and for a moment, the room seemed to hold its breath with them. I tried to look away, but my gaze kept drifting back, drawn to the raw connection they shared. Then, in a whisper of a moment, Maya's eyes met mine. Panic surged through me, and I waited for her to stop, to nudge Jake or cover herself up. But she didn't. Instead, her lips curled into a soft, knowing smile, her gaze unwavering, almost inviting. An electric thrill coursed through me, mingling with a pang of confusion and something else I couldn't quite name. I felt like an intruder, yet I couldn't look away. Not when Maya's eyes held me captive, not when her smile deepened into something seamless and intimate. I shifted on my bed, hoping they'd take it as a sign to stop, but they didn't. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat loud and insistent, and I knew sleep would be an elusive stranger for the rest of the night. The next morning, Jake and Maya acted like nothing out of the ordinary had happened. They greeted me with bright smiles over breakfast, chatting about plans for a hike later that day. I tried to match their casual demeanor, but my mind kept drifting back to the previous night's events. As the day wore on, my unease grew. How could they just act like everything was normal after what I'd witnessed? The memory of their intimate moment replayed in my mind. Maya's knowing smile burned into my thoughts. That evening, after we'd had a few drinks around the campfire, Jake's easygoing manner shifted. He fixed me with an intense gaze, and I braced myself for the confrontation I'd been expecting. "So Walter," he began, his voice low. "About last night." I tensed, ready to explain or apologize, but his next words caught me off guard. "Maya and I have been talking, and we wanted to invite you to join us." My mouth went dry as the implication of his words sank in. Join them? As in? Jake must have seen the confusion on my face because he continued. "We've been considering bringing a third person into our intimate moments for a while now. And after last night, well, we both felt a certain connection." My heart raced as he spoke, his words igniting a fire of curiosity and desire deep within me. This was territory I'd never explored, but the thought of being with Jake and Maya, of sharing that raw, primal connection, sent a thrill through my veins. "I know it's a lot to take in," Jake said, his voice gentle but laced with reassurance. "But if you're interested, if you want to experience something truly incredible, we're both on board." Maya's eyes found mine, and there it was again, that same inviting smile that had captivated me the night before. I drew in a shaky breath, my mind racing with a million thoughts and questions. But in that moment, with the promise of something new and exhilarating hanging in the air, I found myself nodding slowly, the words tumbling from my lips before I could second-guess them. "Yes, I'm in." That night, the air inside the cabin felt electric, thick with anticipation and a hint of uncertainty. We moved with a purpose, our clothes discarded methodically. Jake's hands, warm and sure, pressed against my shoulders as our eyes locked. I couldn't deny the rush of adrenaline that coursed through me. Next to us, Maya's laughter filled the space, light and playful as her fingers traced imaginary patterns over Jake's chest. "It's going to be okay," she murmured, her voice soothing, filled with mischief. "Trust us." Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she drew me closer, the heat of her body mingling with mine. I felt Jake's presence beside me, a grounding force. We exchanged a glance, a silent agreement passing between us. "We got you," he whispered as he broke away, his breath hot against my ear. Jake and I took turns savoring Maya's attentions. She beckoned us, whispered praises and encouragements, fueling the fire already burning inside me. There was something utterly intoxicating about her eagerness to explore and share this intimate moment with us. The night became a cascade of sensations and symphony, each of us lost in the dizzying whirl of fun. Jake's laughter mingled with Maya's gasps, blending into a harmonious melody. Eventually, the boundaries between us blurred, forging an unusual yet profound camaraderie. As the passion ebbed and we collapsed, breathless and tangled, a newfound bond settled over us. The night's revelations left me exhilarated and deeply connected, a part of something intensely meaningful. Over the next few days, the dynamic between us shifted in unexpected ways. With Maya as our fearless leader, we embarked on hikes that pushed our limits, scaling rocky inclines and navigating narrow ridges. Her boundless energy was infectious, and I found myself embracing challenges I would have once avoided. Each evening, we'd return to our cabin, flushed from the day's adventures. That's when Maya would take charge, guiding us into increasingly encounters. At first, I felt awkward, unsure of how to navigate this uncharted territory. But Maya's gentle coaxing and Jake's reassuring presence gradually eased my hesitation. Under her guidance, boundaries blurred and inhibitions melted away. Her playful spirit infused our encounters with a sense of joy and freedom I'd never experienced before. Maya's enthusiasm was contagious, and I found myself drawn into her world of boundless possibilities. Her infectious laughter mingled with our gasps of fun, creating a harmonious symphony that echoed through the mountains. In those moments, nothing else mattered, just the raw, primal connection we shared. By the third day, our routine had become almost second nature. Wake up to the smell of Maya's fresh ground coffee, hike until our legs screamed for rest, then immerse ourselves in a realm of intimacy that had quickly transformed from foreign to familiar. This day, though, Maya had a glint in her hazel eyes that hinted at something extraordinary. "We're switching things up tonight," she announced, her voice carrying that irresistible edge of excitement. "I want us to try something new." Jake and I exchanged a curious glance but nodded. After our hike, Maya set the scene in the cabin. Every movement she made was intentional, almost ritualistic. Candles flickered, casting soft, playful shadows against the rustic wooden walls. It felt like a silent invitation, a beckoning into her world of boundless curiosity. "Role-playing," she said, tossing me a costume piece, a simple eye mask. She handed Jake a pirate hat with a wink. I laughed, the initial awkwardness melting faster than I expected. "Seriously, Maya." "Trust me," she replied, her smile wicked and warm. "Just go with it, Walter." Jake slipped on the hat, chuckling. Matey." "What's our mission, Captain?" Maya twirled, her skirt flaring. "Our mission is to explore everything." The evening morphed into a whirlwind of playfulness and passion. We shed our daily selves for characters woven from our fantasies. In this new game, each touch, each glance carried layers of meaning, unlocking parts of myself I hadn't known were there. As a pirate, Jake became bolder, his usual calm demeanor giving way to a fervor that sent shivers down my spine. Maya's infectious energy made every moment electric, her laughter the catalyst in our charged, secret world. We communicated with a raw honesty I'd never experienced. Boundaries weren't just blurred, they were redefined. In this space, we discussed desires and limits without hesitation. No judgment, no fear, just pure, untainted exploration. "How does this feel?" Jake murmured. I caught Maya's eyes over his shoulder, her nod encouraging. "Incredible," I managed, surprised by the sincerity in my voice. Here, in this circle of trust formed by Maya's wild, fearless spirit, Jake's solid, calming presence, and the burgeoning confidence within myself, my understanding of relationships began to shift. Love felt less like a rigid structure and more like a fluid dance, one that allowed for freedom and discovery without losing depth or warmth. I couldn't deny the waves of fun that washed over me. Maya's eyes shone with delight, urging me on, stoking the fires within. Yet, even as I surrendered to the intoxicating sensations, a part of me couldn't help but feel torn. Emily's face flashed in my mind, her warm smile, her gentle touch. Guilt tugged at my heart, a relentless whisper questioning if I was betraying the love and trust we'd built over the past 2 years. Was I being selfish, indulging in these desires at the risk of shattering what Emily and I shared? Jake must have sensed my internal conflict. He paused, cupping my face tenderly. "You're thinking too much," he murmured, his blue eyes holding a depth of understanding. Maya moved closer, her lithe form pressing against my back as her arms encircled me from behind. "We're here." In this moment, she breathed into my ear. "Just feel." Their words, their presence, anchored me back to the present. I let out a shuddering breath, allowing the tension to dissipate, if only for a fleeting instant. "Talk to us," Walter, Jake urged, his voice a calming balm. "What are you feeling?" In that moment, I knew they weren't just inviting me to explore physical intimacy, they were offering a safe space to explore the depths of my emotions, my desires, my very sense of self. A space without judgment, without fear. "I feel conflicted," I admitted, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. Part of me wants this so badly, but another part can't help but feel guilty. Like I'm betraying Emily, betraying the idea of what a relationship should be. Maya's fingers traced soothing patterns along my skin. "There's no single definition of what a relationship should be," she said softly. "We're all on our own journeys of self-discovery, and sometimes those paths take unexpected twists and turns." Jake nodded, his expression open and understanding. "What we have here, the three of us, is something unique and precious. It's not about betrayal, it's about exploration, about opening ourselves up to new experiences and finding what truly fulfills us. As their words washed over me, a weight seemed to lift from my shoulders. I didn't have all the answers, but in that moment, I felt seen, understood, and accepted in a way I'd never experienced before. The turmoil within began to calm, replaced by a newfound sense of clarity and self-acceptance. This wasn't about betraying Emily or anyone else. It was about embarking on a journey of self-discovery, about pushing boundaries and embracing the parts of myself I'd kept hidden for too long. And with Jake and Maya by my side, I knew I had the safety and support to explore these depths without fear. I couldn't stop thinking about Jake and Maya on the flight back home. The memories of our passionate tryst replayed in my mind over and over, the feel of their hands on my skin, the intensity in their eyes, the freedom and exhilaration of giving in to my deepest desires without restraint or judgment. It was like nothing I had ever experienced before. But as the plane touched down and I stepped out into the familiar bustle of the city, reality came crashing back. I was returning to my normal life, to Emily, to our comfortable routines and established relationship. How could I reconcile the wild abandon of the cabin with the stability and commitment we had built over the past 2 years? Seeing Emily again was both comforting and unnerving. Her smile lit up as she greeted me at the airport with a tight hug and kiss. I breathed in her familiar scent, relishing her warm embrace. But even as I held her close, my mind couldn't help but wander back to the tangled limbs and breathy moans in that secluded woodland haven. The gnawing guilt ate at me as we fell back into our usual patterns over the next few days. Every touch, every conversation with Emily felt overshadowed by the secret I carried. She could tell something was different, catching me lost in thought with a slight frown creasing her brow. "Everything okay, babe?" "How was the trip?" she asked, running a hand along my arm. It was opening I managed, forcing a half smile. "Just been processing a lot." I oscillated between wanting to unburden myself, to confess everything to Emily, and find a way to integrate this new understanding of my needs and desires into our relationship, and wanting to bury it deep down, to protect what we had and not risk shattering her trust. I didn't know how to broach the subject, or even fully understand it myself. Being with Jake and Maya had unleashed something within me, a hunger for adventure, for pushing boundaries, for a love that was less defined and constrained. But did that mean I loved Emily any less? Did it make me selfish to want both the stability and emotional bond with her and the passion and freedom I had tasted? As I wrestled with these thoughts, unsure of what the future held, I knew I couldn't ignore this awakening. Those stolen days had changed me, opened my eyes to the complexities of love and intimacy. Even if I wasn't ready to voice it aloud, I knew I would need to find a way to honor my truth without destroying the life and relationship Emily and I had created together. Somehow, someday I would have to find the courage to navigate this uncharted path, wherever it may lead.